We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes beyond the Walking Dead universe. We're here to talk about Fear the Walking Dead's season premiere of the 8th and final season called Remember What They Took From You. The show, basically, apparently is what we're going to get into this. The first thing we need to get off our chest, actually, before we get other things off our chest, is we just finished the countdown to Fear the Walking Dead's final season giveaway that we had last 2 weeks. In case you missed it, why? Why did you miss it?
You're an idiot because you missed out on a chance at $50.
Right. At the TWDUshop.com, or a thank you to Fear the Walking Dead tribute t-shirt by Celtic TSO on all the social medias, Thomas O'Mara. To be fair, the podcast audience probably did not hear about this because we didn't promote it on the audio podcast. So it pays to follow us on one of the social medias so that you know what's going on. This is why we try to mention every once in a while on the audio podcast / the video podcast that you should be following us on all the social medias or whatever, wherever possible. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, our LinkedIn page, which we didn't promote the giveaway on anyway. We announced the winners last night, Sunday night, right after Fear the Walking Dead's public airing of the 8th season premiere. And we have yet to hear from the winner, just so you guys know.
Oh, so that means we move on.
Which means I may be spinning that wheel. So we're going to start off with first impressions, keeping in mind that, and I was thinking about this last night, I don't think we've seen an episode of Fear the Walking Dead for almost a year. Was it a couple months shy of a year? When did the series finale happen? I think it was in August.
Yeah, it was like August or September because then The Walking Dead started up right after that. And then it ended in November.
So, and that's kind of like what I was thinking. It's been such a long time and we miss our Fear family, both off screen and on. Just talking about the camp a second ago in the unedited, probably, maybe. Because I don't know if the tolerance is going to show up in the main episode.
Maybe.
So, yeah, we miss Fear the Walking Dead. We miss all the characters. We want to know their fate. It being announced that it's the final season of Fear the Walking Dead. And it's very, very similar to the way we felt about The Walking Dead ending, knowing about that way in advance. Is it fair to say that all of us kind of were gritting our teeth with every episode, wondering if they're going to get to everything that they should get, or hoping that the series concludes on a fine point or fine enough point to feel satisfied? That pressure is here now.
At first you were like, oh, it's okay. Well, we have the spin-offs and we still Fear and like, it's fine. And now it's like, and now Fear is ending. So they're like, no, screw you. Deal with one final year again, just right after you dealt with the last final year. Let's just see how you feel. We're going to just make you cry because we'll kill off everybody. You know that's what's going to happen.
Is that why they're making it so bad? So we don't feel so bad when it ends?
Yeah.
First impression.
We'll do you a favor.
But do you think it's a cumulative effect? Because, The Walking Dead is over. Are we putting undue pressure on Fear the Walking Dead?
I feel like drained from it. Walking Dead flagship ended. And it ended, I think, fairly well. I felt good about the ending. When, we were all together. We cried. We laughed. It was great.
You cried.
Shut up. You cried.
I didn't
too.
cry.
Yeah, you sobbed.
And then you kind of held all of your hope. You hung your hat on the fact that Fear was coming back and that we were going to have the spinoffs. I'm worried about the spinoffs and I'm worried about stuff getting canceled now. Fear is ending. Tales isn't coming back as Tales. It's coming back as more Tales. That's a weird mid-season, in-between season change to make, in my opinion. I'm fearful now that because everything died down so drastically and people are like, Fear, right. Who cares? There is nothing to pull new viewers in. So I'm actually very worried that...
So you're more worried for the universe.
Everything's going to get killed off.
What they're doing is catering to existing fans without trying to create new fans. You have like Marvel and stuff like that. They're always bringing in new, known, established characters that bring in new viewers to explore the entire universe.
To be fair, I feel like there's a lot more Marvel comic book characters that have not been brought to the screen. Since Robert Kirkman ended his comic book series, it's up to the writers and the showrunners to create something new. Marvel has this pool to draw from constantly. Oh, let's bring this character to the screen. Let's bring this character to the screen. I feel like it is a lot harder for our showrunners and our writers and everyone involved to create something new that is exciting. Because when Marvel pulls these characters from comic books, there is a group of people who knows who that is. And they're going to get excited to see that.
Maybe Star Wars would be a better example then, because while there is an expanded universe of Star Wars now, they're
Yeah.
creating that expanded universe from a much smaller pool of characters, because what they're doing is taking established characters and making spin-offs with them.
Origin stories.
Right.
Yeah.
Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
It would be closer to it, because even Star Wars, because it's been around so long, there are novelizations and comic books and many other things to draw from. If you tried to do this with Star Wars immediately following the first trilogy, I feel like would be like comparable.
You're saying that, but the characters that they're creating the spin-offs for are base trilogy characters. Obi-Wan, Boba Fett.
That's true.
Solo.
Yeah.
Lando Calrissian.
But there's been a lot of grumbling about how that's ineffective, and that you have this huge universe that you came in, because Disney came in and essentially took all of that universe that had been created, all of these books, these comics that existed, and they said, none of that exists.
Yeah, that's right. In the cinematic universe, they kind of reject the expanded universe, which I think is a huge, huge mistake. The expanded universe, I mean, not to get into Star Wars discussion too much, but for me, I like Knights of the Old Republic, which isn't technically part of the cinematic universe. It's part of the expanded universe. And it has all this lore, and they've developed all this history that may or may not actually play into the cinematic universe, which is why I got sucked into the story of Knights of the Old Republic, which kind of goes to your point.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that it's more similar to that, because yes, the people who are currently in charge are pulling stuff from just that trilogy, and they're trying to create shows out of it. And is that the wisest thing? Maybe
That's
not.
what AMC is doing.
That's why I thought Tales was such a good idea. And I didn't want the alpha episode. Don't retell the same stuff. Tell me new stuff. I want to know new things. I want to see new people. I want to attach new feelings to those relationships between those people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to see the same thing over and over again. Is it cool if there's little Easter eggs? Yes, we all love that, right? But like, that's not all I want.
This kind of goes to the point I was trying to make about Tales originally, which was this is the stuff. This is what should launch the universe into the stratosphere. But with this announcement of more Tales from the Walking Dead being a sort of pulling in from prior resources, which is what people were saying, we don't know if that for sure. It sounds like they're learning from loud people on the internet saying, I don't like this, Tales sucks, you know, basically they're existing fans. And so they decided to backtrack or backpedal and make it about, yes, probably more about new stories, but referencing either backstories of characters that we've seen in the universe who may or may not have passed, or connecting it in some larger way, connecting it in some larger way to the universe. More than it did on...
So is that kind of the basis of the next season?
It's the theory.
Or is it going to be new characters? I mean, honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing more Terry Crews and Olivia Munn.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Just from initial impressions from interviews.
I mean, give me some Parker Posey and Jillian Bell, too.
Yes.
Right. But I doubt that's going to happen based on the feeling of that conversation is that they're going to be trying to draw more from the universe, the existing universe, aka not Tales.
I like the idea of having these brand new characters, brand new stories, but I also feel when you have a storyline that hits, for example, Terry Crews and Olivia Munn, that story I felt, maybe it was just me, but I felt like it really hit fans.
Oh, I liked it, yeah.
That storyline itself could be expanded on. Make a limited series of those two. Why not?
But that's how you further yourself. You put out feelers like a Tales of the Walking Dead show to figure out what stories really speak to the consumers that we're looking to hit. Right?
The audience. Yeah.
Then based on that, you create more offshoots and you make them AMC Plus only. And that's how you do it. If you're going to follow
kind of like the webisodes in a way
of what Disney has done, if that's what your goal is, AMC, I'm talking to you. If that's your goal, this is your way to get there. I don't know who's telling you otherwise.
But that's the difference in having a physical channel that you have to populate with programming as opposed to having just a streaming service.
Right.
You run the risk. You run a huge risk with just streaming.
You run a huge risk of airing it on the network too. You want it to do well for advertising dollars too, because it affects not only the show and the properties, but the greater network. So it's always a risk. And as I was saying about Tales, when your existing fans not reject it, but pan it, it doesn't receive the fanfare that you hoped it would with the existing fans, you're not going to cut off your nose to spite your face to take that level of risk too. So it's always a balancing act, which kind of brings us back to fear a little bit. Are we putting undue pressure on fear? Yeah, we can't help it. We love this show.
Help me, season 8 Fear, you're our only hope. Like,
Help me, Obi-Wan.
like, that's what it feels like.
Help me, Obi-John. You're my only hope.
I'm a Force ghost. Pew, pew, pew. Anyway, but going back to Fear, though, do you think that may have played into what everybody might be feeling from the room? Your first impressions of this episode? A, not seeing the characters you love. B, not getting the story you might have wanted right away.
Yeah, I think this sums up my first impressions perfectly.
Hated it.
Hated it.
Hated it.
Did you? I'm sorry. Did you not watch SNL? David Allen Greer. And Tim
Yeah,
Wayans.
no,
Come on.
It's been a long.
That's
it's been
in
a
living
long
color, isn't it?
That's in
time.
living color.
It's in
That's in
living
living
color.
It is in living color.
And it's been
You said
a
SNL.
long time, Rachel.
Did I?
Yeah,
Shut up. I've been drinking
that could be your excuse for everything.
tonight. That's as nicely as I can put it.
On the first watch, I actually thought it wasn't bad.
When you say that, you're like, okay, it's an episode, right? It wasn't like this or that.
The bar was set pretty low.
Okay. No, that's what I wanted to hear.
From 7B, and I've made no secret of
Right.
the fact that I hated 7B. It was terrible, in my opinion. This is pretty much what I expected. I see what they're doing with the story. It was okay. It was okay. It wasn't making me want to gouge my eyes out. Then I went back and watched it again.
Like
the
7B.
next day, and my opinion on it changed drastically. I think maybe I was so excited Fear was back. I was like, yay, it's back, and everybody says it's good, and I watched this, and yeah, it was okay, and then I went back and watched it again. I was like, wait a minute, this
Everybody did
was
not say it was
that
good. But
Now, I have heard that it gets better after the first episode.
well, and for context, the people who'd watched the first 3 episodes have made similar mentions about the first episode, the slow ramp up towards the first 3.
Yeah, you sent us an article about it, Dave.
That's right, from Cameron Bunamalo.
Mm-hmm.
And I posted that on Instagram, which was gangbusters, by the way. We got a lot of hits from that. He's a particularly tough critic when it comes to Fear. So it was kind of surprising to hear his take on it.
First of all, opening yet another season with 2 fucking characters in it. I don't
Right,
watch
the
this show
anthology
for
style.
2 fucking
Right.
characters. I want to see all of my characters in this show. That's
Say
why I
it.
watch it.
Say
I
it.
concur.
Say it. Say the line, Charity. Go on.
You want
Is there
me
a
to
line?
say,
We started
we
with these.
ended last season.
ended last season with these fucks, and we started this season with these fucks again. I don't care about Madison and Morgan. There are in the season other fucking people on this show.
I'm already pissed watching this episode. I'm going to start watching every single episode already pissed.
I held out hope that we were going to see somebody else in the episode. We see Morgan,
Right.
we see Grace. Maybe they'll radio Dwight, and we'll see Dwight for a second. Of course, I want to see June. I'm not trying to use her as the first example, but maybe they'll mention June and we'll cut to her for 5 seconds or whatever. But no, we don't even get that. The only mention we even get that other characters exist is they talk about how there weren't as many people on the rafts as they thought there was going to be. I hate it.
So going back to the pressure, do you think that the pressure that we put on the universe, and then more so on Fear because it's here now, and then also having not gotten what we wanted from 7B, and then also that trauma in a way that we got from the anthology episodes 2 seasons in a row, technically, that plays into all of this?
I get COVID. 6 was already going to be anthology. It was fun in season 6. I enjoyed it. It was okay, you know?
It made sense at the time.
Right. But what is the reason for it in season 8? Can you guys name one?
I mean, one episode isn't a
One.
season, though.
Can you name
so.
one Walking Dead season that started with an episode with just 2 fucking characters in it? Not counting Days Gone By, because you had Lori and Shane. You know what I'm saying? That's different. But name one other season where you had just 1 or 2 characters in the opener. Not one.
I can't think of any right now off the top of my head. Oh, I just wanted to also say that Aiden's in the audience, too. I almost missed him.
Hey,
So let me
Aiden.
just read what he says. Hola, my wonderful comrades. I'm sorry, but I feel the writers are repeatedly dropping the ball with the show. In the words of Alyssa Edwards, Mama, this garbage. Shocker, Rachel's been drinking. Ian and Andrew seem to be making the same mistakes they made when they took over in season 4. You don't tune in for just Madison Morgan Charity. What? Dave woke up and chose violence. Okay. You mean the asthmatic baby kidnapping dude? Wasn't what you watched this just for? They talk about Nick and Alicia as well. What the hell is Rach doing with her eye? The series premiere, but that's pretty much it. There aren't any others.
Yeah.
Referring to the opening. I actually thought about this, though. I know why they're doing it. And I think it's to establish an air of mystery, obviously, as the fate of everybody else. But it doesn't really help that, A, we were traumatized by 2 seasons of anthology episodes, so maybe not have been the right move.
Yeah, honestly, I don't care why. It sucked.
We've talked about this before, and I think it has a lot to do with, well, okay, there's the audience now, which arguably is what everybody might say is the only audience that matters. But then there's also future audiences that may binge the show. And so to them, it'll probably feel like, okay, oh, we're establishing the mystery of season 8 and we'll keep plowing through. And they don't have to wait week by week like we are right now.
What they're going to watch is the end of 7B. They're not going to be able to tell the difference between season 7 to season 8. It's just going to flow, and it's going to be like one long episode.
And they won't have to wait 7 or 8 months.
I did wait almost a year to watch Morgan and Madison again. I wanted to see other people, anybody else.
Right. But you can see what I'm saying, though. They're kind of like making this their launching point for like consecutive watches too. Kind of going back to like the Star Wars conversation.
Everything that happened in this episode could have happened in half that time and then spent the other half telling us what everyone else was doing. Where is everybody else? The end of the episode pretty much was where we started. It was so pointless.
I get the sentiment of wanting to see everybody, obviously, because again, I'm with you on the whole, where is everybody? We've waited this long. We don't want the anthology, and I don't want anthology style episodes anymore. I don't either. But you can't just switch gears from this to that, especially after everybody's fate being unknown. You kind of have to ease everybody into that process, I think.
I'm more upset about the lack of names in the opening credits. Specifically, Mo.
Alexa Nicenson, Mo Collins.
Where's Sarah?
Is this the only explanation we're going to get? Is that some people just didn't show up on the rafts? There just weren't as many people on the rafts as we thought?
We're just supposed to swallow that fucking bullshit of a pill?
People survived a nuclear blast. Why couldn't they solve a simple boat ride? Is that
well, they
what we're
fell
going
off
with?
a raft? Fuck that.
But we don't know. It's only the first episode that we don't know what's going on.
I knew people were upset after season 4 because they rebooted the show, right? And Nick left and Madison left. They died of Sarah. But at least you got closure in that season.
Yes, we knew what happened.
Names are just gone out of the opening credits and we get no explanation whatsoever. Sarah was a main character. And that's the treatment you get.
Her relationship between her and Wendell, that was a huge part of the show.
Hold on a second. Now, they could just be doing that for many, many different purposes. A, to kind of make you react like this, like what happened? And they may show up later on. I didn't pay attention to the opening credits as much, which is why I'm glad that you brought it up because I didn't know. While I was watching this episode, I had this panic. Did they kill off Grace as well? Because it sounds like we see Morgan. Grace is not with her. Did she die here? Yeah, I'm just as panicky about this as you. And it's only the first episode in season 8.
We haven't seen anything of Sarah or Wendell or Charlie in any of the promos at all. Now, granted, we haven't seen Strand either.
They're not even in the promos.
But we know Coleman was filming because he posted about it on Instagram.
With his hair.
We know Coleman's going to be there, but we've seen nothing about any of those other people in the promos. Now, we've seen June, we've seen Sherry, we've seen Dwight, we've seen Grace, we've seen Morgan and Madison, of course. But where are all the other people? I get the people that were angry in season 4 when they rebooted, but you got an explanation. You got a story. We got nothing.
I will argue, though, that we did not get the closure. It doesn't negate the fact that neither are you right now. Neither am I right now. But we didn't know what happened to Taco. We didn't know what happened to Crazy Dog. The dam blew up.
Madison.
There are a lot of characters that have just been
but everyone
tossed
else,
off to the side.
Bridget.
It's the same thing with Walking Dead proper. Heath. I will scream it on the top of every mountain. Where is Heath?
Ugh, I'm done with that.
How many seasons was Walker on the show?
One.
How many seasons was Proctor John on the show?
A couple episodes.
How many seasons with Heath on the show?
2, I think.
2.
6 and 7.
Sarah's been on the show for 3. She's been on the show since season 4 as a main character.
Yep, and Wendell.
Well, I know, but I'm saying I'm just saying we didn't get an ending either. It's not like people 1 through 3 versus this is sucky writing. And instead of the writers being like, we'll own up to that. I'm sorry, this isn't great. We're going to try to revamp and actually fix it. It's just doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. And isn't that the definition of insanity? And then making the audience members pitted against each other.
Interesting.
I'm not trying to pit myself against anybody. I was using that as an example. I was saying I understood the seasons 1 through 3 people.
So let me say what Aiden says in the chat before I weigh in a little bit. It's not like what I'm about to say is going to sway any minds or hearts. He says also, I feel like they're repeating what they did last season. I don't think we'll see some of the others like Victor until about halfway through, just like they did with Alicia last season. They do the damn storyline every season, just change the settings. Ooh, girl, don't get me started. It's more than we got for Tobias, Alexa, Walker, Crazy Dog, Nora, the kids, Ranger Samuels, Tess, etc., etc., etc. Alex. They're going around saying Alicia survived, and I'm skeptical about ADC's return, save for maybe the possibility of the finale. And Coleman is now getting a producer credit. Cool.
That's cool.
That could be interesting. Ian and Andrew are horrible showrunners. Why is he making me say this? And I don't understand how they've been able to hold that position. Glenn Mazzara made some sloppy choices and he was gone. So what I'm about to say, nobody's going to agree with this, but I've said this innumerable amount of times over the past several years on this show. And that is, I am a slave to story. You can throw all your characters into a fire if it makes the story good. Now, that being said, obviously, I had misgivings with season 7 as well. I've clarified my comments in the fact that I do like the individual episodes, but in terms of an arc, even season 4, 5, 6, 7, the arcs themselves have only gone downhill. For the last several months, as we've mused on Fear the Walking Dead episodes, in case you haven't watched them, we've been posting our Fear the Walking Dead favorite characters. We have the saddest moments coming out very shortly, as well as Fear the Walking Dead greatest episodes, I think was the last one we filmed or recorded.
Favorite moments.
It was
favorite
moments, David.
Oh, yeah, because we kept arguing about
the
it.
constant joke.
Yeah.
Not episodes, David, during the recording. So I'm going to say this, and you're going to think it's because, I get to see Morgan and Madison, but I couldn't care less. If I was thinking to myself, they could kill Madison in this episode, I would laugh, actually, for all the talk about Madison's return. No, but here, this is so you have an understanding of where I'm coming from. Even though Madison is my favorite character, yes, on Fear the Walking Dead, but B, had she died in this episode, I think it would have been right for the story. It could have been. It's an option. So I have no favorites when it comes to story. That being said, I thought this episode was a good story. It established that there is a mystery surrounding the whereabouts of everybody. It establishes a little bit more about what Padre is all about. It sets the tone, at least, of the drama between Madison's philosophy and Morgan's philosophy, which is also interesting to me because breaking down Morgan to the point where he is abandoning everything he's ever come to the conclusion of over the course of many seasons, not only on The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead, that also is a mystery. What led to that? I mean, yes, it sounds simple, but then you see the graffiti on the wall, which is reminiscent of The Walking Dead. Jenny, Dwayne,
Clear.
You were supposed to clear King County, and then the whole King County, Georgia, which, okay, we can talk about that at some other point. But the point being is that something happened to break him down to his ultimate point. Now, you may not care for Morgan, but he's in the story. I don't think it's going to be all about Morgan. And I think that's what you're mostly afraid of. Are these two fuckers going to chew the screen?
They are.
Wait. And we got so much of them in this episode. A lot of them.
Because that's all that was in this episode was them.
Right. But that has been our fear since we heard about Madison returning. First of all, Morgan already sort of chews up the screen, and we did get a little less of him last season.
I think it's very valid.
In my opinion, and I didn't say how I feel about this episode.
Yes, I'm sorry about that.
I thought it was okay. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I liked it okay. I thought it was all right.
I think I'm with you on that too, actually.
I thought it was okay for a beginning. And there's a lot of things, there were a lot of elements about it that I really liked for the first episode of the season. However, actually the main character of this episode is Ren, and that the other characters did service to her story. I didn't think it was about Madison. I didn't think it was about Morgan.
Oh,
it really is about her.
It was about Madison and Morgan, but they were the ones that were prominent in the episode.
See, I would argue that I feel like Ren was the most prominent character in this episode.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, that's funny because a lot of the comments that I've seen surrounding this episode, let's say on Reddit, but also on Twitter.
Oh, two great places to get just quality,
it's a good
opinion,
range. Right. So a lot of them have said something to the effect of, they're setting up their Judith on Fear the Walking Dead, which is, a valid talking point. But then again, hasn't the show always been about, or hasn't the universe always been about, or mostly been about, found family, of course. But in the back of our minds, we always think, what's left for the future? Raising kids and having babies, even though they fucking suck in the apocalypse, Rachel. They're awful. Just eat them.
Well, babies, yes. Kids, once they get past the screaming age, we can train them.
To get to that age, right? We have to have them.
They suck.
And so, which is, I think, also a good way of getting past that point with Mo, because we had enough of the crying baby, Mo, honestly. I get it. So to have them time jump to the time she's 7 and almost kind of reference the fact that she's
supposed to be
8.
9.
8.
No, she's 8.
She's 8. Yeah.
She said 8.
Maybe almost 9. This is like the Jude of the conversation all over again. Like,
No, 8 makes sense.
3 months after the
I
apocalypse.
saw a lot of people online claiming
makes
that
sense,
she was
born at the beginning
that
of-
she was like
No.
that she seemed too old for it. But honestly,
Which
like
I'm just,
I disagree.
I do
I
too.
think is the actress clearly a little bit older?
Kids are walking
Yes.
at 1.
I can buy it.
Yeah.
That's not.
That is not the moment that I'm like, this is unrealistic. This, like, that's
right.
not-
It's like, choose
it's
your
like, that's
battles, man,
fine.
right?
It's fine.
Personally,
But, you
I
know-
have a huge issue with it, but it is what it is.
okay.
I
No.
can't.
Tell me about it then.
This kid's not 8 years old. It is not in any way whatsoever believable at all.
They made the.
But it is what it is. So what am I going to do about it?
8,
I'm forced to accept
They
it.
made the 16-year-old kid 13.
Yeah, I love Alexa, but towards the end there, I mean that. If
She had
if
an old
anything,
soul, that 13-year-old.
If anything, I can say it would make sense to write Charlie off because Alexa had aged out. There's no way that Alexa is going to believably, although we
Be
did
that
just
age,
skip
right.
7 years, we did just jump 7 years, so now she would look more age appropriate. But
But
I'm
how? I
sorry,
mean, she was
at this-
dying. How
Ren-
would she have survived?
We didn't see a body.
God.
She could have survived and
Okay,
come back.
They're not gone till they're
I
gone.
almost don't
so
want
who
to see
knows?
Maybe
the
the
body.
waters had like healing powers.
Who knows?
Hashtag
God.
bring back Charlie. Hey, did it work?
No, you're not loud enough.
Why not? We brought
Right.
back
You're not
Madison.
echoing enough.
You're not
Please
mean
do not
enough to
encourage
everybody.
me.
When in television history has any child played their actual age too?
Well,
So
okay.
this
Don't.
is like
No, they
the
don't.
hill
I'm
to
not
die
saying
on.
she
Yeah.
has. I'm not saying she has to be 8. I'm just saying this actress is not passing off as 8.
But does no one remember the 90s and 80s when 30-year-olds played 16? Come on. We're okay
and
with this.
mostly
It's fine. It's close
guys
enough.
too.
We've gotten better since
It's close
then.
enough.
Aiden says, "What's the story though?" Question mark. The group is separated and try to find their way back to each other while navigating the apocalypse, rival groups, and natural disasters. Is that the plot of seasons 4, 5, 6, and 7 and 8? It seems like she deserves at least a flashback send off. Maybe she was just pregnant. They pulled that shit with Grace. Hashtag bring back Charlie.
Flashback.
She's
What?
saying hashtag Charlie was pregnant. Also, no.
It's so stupid.
No.
It's so stupid.
Oh, but yeah, maybe.
No.
Maybe.
No. I mean, she did have that, like, the butterfly room with homeboy. What
Mhm.
was his name?
Ali.
Ollie, yes.
I just want to say, I hate to sound this hateful because I love this show. It's disappointing me.
Jeremy, you and I talked about this in 7B. I've defended this show relentlessly, and I am personally offended by the fact that it's sucking so bad, and it's like proving all these people right who've complained about it for so long. Who here has been personally victimized by Fear the Walking Dead season 7?
I have fought fucking
Not at
battles
all.
over this shit for them to just turn it into crap. I'm sure part of the reason we lost so many characters with no explanation, although we're not going to worry about that. But
Well, we
anyway,
haven't lost them yet.
the reason we've lost these characters is so that we could bring Kim Dickens back.
I don't know about that. I'm not ready to say that or agree to that.
Part of the reason I'm so angry about Kim Dickens coming back is I feel like AMC gave in to the bullies.
You
Agreed.
think?
I
would
feel
agree
like
to
the
that.
squeaky wheels got the fucking grease, and now that grease is staining the fucking show.
This
Kim
is I
Dickens
hate
said
that
as
the
much.
most.
They put out a promo video of Kim Dickens saying as much. It
Right.
was
That's
because
why they
of
brought
the
back.
Yeah,
hashtag bring
within
back
the context of her
Madison
return,
promo.
but not you know.
Yeah, well, they
They
brought her
basically
back.
said this is why they brought her back.
Because of the bring back Madison. Well, those people were fucking bullies.
Yeah,
with a
I
few
agree.
exceptions. I know there are exceptions because we're friends
There
with
are,
them.
yeah, yes,
But the majority
Yes.
of them were bullies.
Yeah, see, and this is the thing, and I've said this before on the show too. I think people should stand by their stories too. Like, you don't like what Ian and Andrew are doing, just fucking turn it off. Stick to your stories, even if people are going to hate it. You obviously are writers for a reason. Don't change your story just because people are complaining. Be an artist.
Have the balls to stick to it.
Your vision, even if people are going to pan it.
There's no authenticity to you as a person if you can't stand next to what you've written and say, this is the story I intended to tell.
Right. Now, what people need to keep in mind, and I think this is the main failing of Fear the Walking Dead, if any, is that yes, there are writers. B, executive producers, C, producers, showrunners. Now, all of those people take part in how the show shapes out.
Well, I would not be surprised if this was network.
Well, so yes, there is the network as well, but all of these play a part in it. There's two possible scenarios here. What's written isn't always what ends up in the final cut. Actually, mostly is not what ends up in the final cut. For the reasons of producers, usually. They shave down the vision to where it fits the universe, A. B, it fits television writing. It's one thing to write out a script and another for it to fit in TV world, quote unquote, / the greater vision that people have behind the scenes. Fine. But I feel like in a way, the other possibility is that they let the writing through without whittling it down. They said, oh, this is brilliant. Let it just go. Just run with it.
Honestly, it seems...
I'm not saying that's what it is. That's the case, but it sounds like...
What it is maybe it's test groups. This seems overwhelmingly like network influence to me. And network influence has taken down a lot of things and has screwed up a lot of things in Hollywood. So like...
Well, this time around, yes. Maybe.
The main show was ending, Fear's ratings were dropping, and so they said, oh, they want Madison back. That'll bring all these people back into the fold, and our ratings will go up again. But they won't because the story is crap.
And I think that's the most important part. Again, like I said, Kim Dickens could have died this episode, and as long as it made sense for the story, I would have been for it. I agree. Classically, from seasons past, I think it was maybe the other way around. They had an idea and a vision, and it wasn't whittled down enough by producers to make it fit. Meaning, producers are supposed to be like the vanguard. Well, they're the firewall before it gets to
they're protecting their investment.
TV. Now,
it's truly what they're doing. Like they're investing into it, and so that's their job, is to protect it.
Right. Is it going to play well with audiences, which is ultimately the goal? So I think until now that's been the case, and maybe with this episode that's not happening, or now we're just trying to give Fear the Walking Dead a proper enough send off to where we please as many audiences as possible. And I want to say two things. One, when you try to please everybody, well, who do you end up pleasing?
Absolutely no one.
No one.
Right.
No one.
I feel that what may be happening here. But B, I'm not willing to cast off an entire season based on its first episode.
I'm angry for personal, selfish reasons. I'm angry for people I consider my friends. I am going into this season a little bit angry. I can't deny that. It doesn't mean that I'm going to hate watch the whole season. It doesn't even mean that I'm not going to enjoy it. I might very well enjoy this season, but right. I am still a little
sad.
You're disappointed, you're frustrated.
Important reasons. Yeah.
Well, and doesn't that not add into what is already a lot of pressure on the show to finish off and trying to please everybody, right? So
sure.
It wouldn't have been super hard to please everybody.
Wait, hold on. Did you say it wouldn't be super hard to please everybody? Have you watched this show? Oh, wait, no, you haven't. I mean, all the way through.
I will try.
Better writing could have served the fans better.
I don't know. I don't know. At this rate, at this stage in the game, I'm not sure what will...
Let me bring up one positive. I do want to give them props for one thing in this episode. And that is Morgan saying that Isaac and Rachel were Mo's parents.
I was going to bring that up, actually.
For that.
Hold on, though. I'm going to dogpile on that and say he only brought it up for his own selfish reasons, to throw it in Ren's face. It wasn't even, I'm going to share this tidbit of information that you deserve to know. It was more like, I'm not your dad. Your dad was this guy. You know,
when I watched it, I felt like, oh my God, is he saying this directly to Rachel? All right, already. Rachel and Isaac are her parents. Are you happy now, Rachel? I guess we addressed that.
Yeah.
Literally, and I started laughing when he delivered that line.
Through the whole episode, they're like, we're your parents. And then, but we're not your parents.
Every single time I'm like,
your parents
sort of, right.
Okay, like this kid is already confused. Like she's been raised by Padre. She's got no fucking idea about the real world. Then you got crazy Madison who's like, I'm going to find your real parents. And she takes it, we're your parents. Oh, great, you're my parents. We're not your parents. Like, what the fuck? This poor kid.
Rachel and Sharon watched the episode on 17 times speed. Anyway. But you know what? On that note, actually,
I can only do it once.
Valid critique is that the one thing, like, because I can easily see why Morgan's doing what he's doing so far. He had to give her up to give her a better life, which is not a Morgan thing to do. But the one thing that is a little bit confusing, and it's not apparent that some of the traveling with Madison and Morgan occurs over the course of a couple of days or several days. It's not readily apparent.
Seems like all one day.
It seems like it, but it's not, because by the time they get to the shore, it's at least one more day. They mention it near the end, but it's the ping pong of Ren going back and forth from wanting to kill Madison to not wanting to. Should we save her? Then kill Madison. Then we save her.
I can chalk that up to her being a child.
I know.
She's a kid.
Yeah, that's my mild critique, though. Yeah. It's not even a big thing to bring up, but it is kind of like, it did kind of like get me on my hackles a little bit.
And that's because the actress is considerably older than 8 years old.
It'll take them 2 weeks to find you here. You literally just radioed them and told them where you were.
And then Morgan, I love that. It'll take them 2 weeks to find you, and then Morgan finds them like that, like immediately.
Like 2 weeks. Also, and I find this legitimate. How the fuck did they get out of Padre? She busts her out of the oxygen tank, and then suddenly they're on the fucking boat. No explanation of how they got out. Nobody noticed Madison walking through the fucking compound.
So yeah, I know that she had mentioned that she comes down during shift change, which gives her a clear path to Madison's cell. So it's possible that that's
only
going to
differ. Down there.
This is a small settlement.
But shift change is only a matter of minutes.
You telling me they don't notice a stranger walking through there?
I'm not bothered by this. They had a hostage. They prepared a boat. Probably. Who cares? I'm not really bothered by that.
This is a perfect time to bring up yet another giant beef that I have that is never going to be resolved. And David is going to say, well, it's just something we have to deal with. And, it just doesn't matter. I already know what David's going to say, but I'm going to say this anyway. How they got out of Padre, we're never going to find out. Just like we're never going to find out how fucking Madison survived the diamond.
Actually,
they're never going to explain that.
They have said that they're going to explain it. They have said that it's going to be explained this season.
Mm-hmm.
I will believe that when I see it.
Fair.
So going back to my comment, it's kind of, I get why there's a frustration based on that's why I started this episode by saying there's a lot of people who are taking in their frustrations, a whole bunch of time from seeing the characters that they love, frustrated with the anthology episodes. I'm not ready to write off an entire season.
I'm in it. But damn it, stop making it so fucking hard to be in it.
They're making it really hard to defend the show.
I want to love this show so badly. You know I do.
But that's exactly what the season 3 people
so much. How can the season 3 people love it? Look at what they made.
The 1 through 3 people said the same exact thing when season 4 came around.
Baby Stealer, thank you for bringing her back and making her that.
I love that the most because it got me going. It's not the Madison I grew to love. I don't like that at all. I also want
to point out the very distinct parallel between Madison at the door of the houseboat being almost eaten by the walkers and Morgan at the church door in 516. In 516 Fear. When he's at the church door
when
after
Dakota
Jimmy
saved him.
When Dakota saved him. And this time it was Grace.
Oh my God, and we just put the screenshot of that also in the saddest moments, which was just an errant saddest moment.
Grace is going to end up being a bad guy?
I'd be down for that. I like my girls to
that's what I'm saying. Like the show, hopefully the show can go somewhere from here.
I like my girls to break bad, not act bad.
So in the subtitles of this episode, the song In Dreams shows up, but it's clearly not In Dreams that Mo is listening to on the headphones. It's actually The Dock of the Bay by Otis Redding, which is actually interesting. And I'm glad they changed it because there's some key lyrics in that song. Wasting time. Obviously what Morgan and Madison have been doing throughout 7 years. Madison through no fault of her own. Morgan, who knows what he's been doing? Why is he even there? And it kind of brings me back to why Madison.
But only if it's appropriate.
But for what purpose? At any point when he drops off Baby Mo, he could have just left. His promise to Isaac and Rachel was to take care of Baby Mo. He did it. They're taking care of her.
But have they said, we will kill her if you don't do this? Because then is that his obligation?
He took care of her the same way Marlene did Ellie.
On The Last of Us?
Yeah. Don't switch gears. Fedra.
Right. And so he could have cut and ran anytime. Maybe Grace is there because I don't know. That's her purpose from here on in. Or maybe it's like, maybe I shouldn't be so emotionless. Maybe they are there because they can't bear the thought of leaving their daughter. But it just occurred to me that like, okay, you've done your part. You can do whatever you want at this point. What's there to keep them there?
Does Morgan believe in Padre? Does he believe the shit they're spewing? Maybe he's there because he believes in what they're doing.
But I think he only does to a certain extent. There's that line that he says he's not doing what they're asking him to.
Right. He has like a code.
He's doing it his own way, which is like it follows a moral compass, which is why it makes sense for him. So he's taking kids who just don't have parents there, thinking, well, this is better off than them being on their own.
Especially after all that he's endured in that sub, after the nuclear fallout.
It makes sense because he sent his own daughter there. So he's like, okay, well, I dropped my daughter off there and I know that she's safe. So this is as good a place as any for these kids. And we have to think, if we assume that every other kid that has been in the show has died under technically his care, in a way, the group's care, then I guess, like, is he wrong? Like, not really.
Yeah, it's crushing.
Or either that or he's deluding himself into believing that it's a better place.
Because he has to, right?
Right, because that's where he stuck Mo. So he has to believe that it's the right choice.
The only thing I could do is take her there. So this now is my moral compass. Because if I gave her away to the wrong people, who am I? What kind of person am I?
Which is why he keeps doing it. And how does that make him any different than what Madison was prior to that? I couldn't give the life of my kids.
It's a technicality.
Madison was doing it under a threat, though.
Right.
They were using her kids as leverage. Once she found out that her kids were already dead, then she was like, fuck this place. Morgan's like, okay, well, my kid's there, so it must not be so bad.
But I also think there's something else here, too, because threatening Madison's kids couldn't have been enough, too. I think maybe deep down, and maybe
I agree,
after
let's be honest, she doesn't really care about them.
I'm just thinking after 7 years of being down there, she may have come to certain realizations. And that is, maybe at some point I could have just said, you know what? I can't keep living with the thought that my kids can't take care enough of themselves to ward off Padre. There's an entire world out there where her kids could have gone that Padre probably couldn't reach. Because Padre's not that big, that we know of at least.
We don't know how big it is.
Maybe Madison doesn't even know. But that would be relying on fear. At some point, she has to figure, especially being down there for 7 years, did I have to do that? Did I have to be away from my kids that long? And that's probably playing into a lot of what's going on with her and wanting to free Ren and to make it so that Ren is with her parents, right? Her found parents, her found family. Just trying to see, this is what happens when you try to please everybody. Her parents. No quotes.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, Rachel, but adoptive parents are parents just as much as...
Well, especially when...
Well, Rachel and Isaac didn't willingly give her up. They died. So she had
kids.
Counterpoint, the kid's named Morgan. Okay, so obviously there's a Godfather sort of situation going on here.
We shouldn't forget her actual
you
parents.
Shouldn't forget where you come from.
Nobody's saying that. I'm imagining Morgan and Grace going to a dinner party and going, just so everybody knows at this party, baby Mo we're not her real parents. Okay, continue with you. This is very nice cheese you have here.
To answer Aiden's question, who are Judith's actual parents? And the correct answer is Rick and Shane.
Shane and Lori.
Rick and Shane.
What does Rick have to do with Lori's? First of all, what does Rick have to do with any of Judith's upbringing?
None. He was
based on your logic.
Donor.
He was there for the same.
Rick.
He was there for this.
Rick.
No. Automatically validated.
Morgan.
I don't want to hear it. That's stupid logic. Anyway, God.
Let's hope
You're turning me into you. Why are you turning me into you?
Well, yeah, what's happening? I don't like it.
I don't like it at all. It's shit logic. At least be consistent.
I know that the rest of the season is coming and this is just the first episode. I'm hoping that it gets better. I'm not going to stop watching. I really didn't want to be this snarky in this episode.
Well, there's a lot of pressure riding on Fear the Walking Dead.
Knowing it's the final episode, final season is a lot of pressure.
With all the complaints from fans last year about 7B, you would have thought that they would have changed up the formula just a little.
That's and they may still be under security protocol, safety and health protocol. I'm not faulting them for sticking with the loose anthology style. I get keeping actors safe and healthy. I do. I completely understand that and I don't fault them. But we have seen in the past that there are ways around that. I wasn't a huge fan of this episode, obviously, but I am excited for where we're going to go. I'm going to keep my expectations real low. They stressed a lot this episode about some mysterious big bad that Padre is preparing for, right? That's the whole point. This is the reason they're training these kids to fight and something is coming, right? We heard that a couple times in this episode.
I don't know if it was specifically about a big bad, but I think
something is coming.
Well, they had mentioned
the sense that we got.
They had mentioned about the next stage of Padre. What that is a whole other. Aiden says maybe they're going to bring Martha back.
Martha. That'll be something, won't it?
But yeah, I don't know if it's about a big bad. Maybe.
Given the 7-year time jump, it's very likely that the big bad could be CRM.
Right.
And
Major Beale.
well,
Major
but
General Beale, you mean?
Whatever. Haircut.
I don't see them training to take out people. I see them training to take out walkers. But we know that the CRM also uses walkers as weapons, like how they took out Omaha and Campus Colony. Remember, they knocked the walls down and let the walkers in? Maybe that's something that Padre knows about, and so they're training the kids to be able to fight walkers. If you train them early, as we know, they grow up to be very proficient killers. That's what you have to be in this world.
And we've also
right?
seen the other side of that too. When you train them to be that tough, that young, they're not very great with the adults either.
They're little unsullied is what they are, except they haven't.
When you don't train them to do anything,
best case scenario,
they end up getting you
They're
killed.
Gracie.
They listen to Tiny
but
Tim
Gracie had-
too loud.
But the opposite isn't good true. Like, could you imagine a whole community of children that are capable, but then they kill all the people that they meet? That's not great on the other side of things too. Yeah, there has to be something to live for, right? We've all talked about this.
Aiden says maybe Padre is Charlie and she's been recast from the time skip. She will be played by Aubrey Plaza to bring in fans, quote unquote.
Quote unquote.
So her voice is so low because she was scarred by the. That's why her
Radiation
voice
poisoning?
sounds so boyish and malish, because she was scarred by the radiation.
I know that's half a joke, but in all seriousness, I kind of expect Padre to be a lady girl.
That's right.
Maybe
That's
Padre
right.
is Madison.
Mommy's your daddy
Maybe Padre
now.
is Madison.
So, well, no, it can't be Madison.
Maybe Padre is Madison.
No,
wait
it's
a
obviously
minute.
not Madison.
It can't be.
She can't talk to herself.
Wait.
But I did notice that the way they cut the last scene, where the girl Jayla Walton, they didn't say her name, but Jayla
Haircut.
Walton,
Haircut?
not haircut.
Oh.
The other
Jayla
girl,
Walton,
the girl that's
Mo's
training.
friend?
Dove.
the influencer
Mo's
girl
friend.
whom we called before.
Dove.
Is that her name? Was her
Mo's
name
friend.
said in the episode?
Yeah.
Yes.
When?
Mo called her Dove. She said, Dove, help me.
Which
When she was getting attacked by the
I
sponge
feel
mouth
like
walker.
SpongeBob. When they had that last scene cutting between Padre talking to Ren and Dove talking to Ren, I thought that was a little bit telling because her answers were coinciding with the responses to each of those two people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that Dove is Padre, but I'm saying maybe she is intimately connected to Padre, maybe even being his own personal daughter or someone he calls a
Her
ward.
daughter.
His yeah, it could be her too. Fine,
Padre's
whatever.
going to be the
Daughter.
ultimate daddy, and it's going to be Pedro Pascal.
Pedro.
Padre Pascal.
Padre Pascal, who is, by the way, the ultimate daddy Joel.
So there you
Yeah,
go.
I would like to see him as a bad
was
guy.
solved.
Amazing.
A dove is, of course, a symbol of peace. And I believe Bridget took my idea and
She
did
took
some
my idea
research
first.
on the symbolism of the bird names.
Mhm.
They're
Yeah.
just
So maybe-
clean pigeons.
Maybe Dove
Same family.
will repair some things.
Can I just say some things I actually liked about the episode, since this episode has been such a bummer so far?
I just want to know if you thought this was as bad as you thought it was going to be.
This episode?
With Rachel and I.
No, I thought you both were going to be way
Oh.
drunker.
So just like Rachel, I was expecting the worst.
I feel like we have somewhat valid points.
We're not being petty.
No, overall, this is why I mentioned up front so that we can temper the conversation and then we can go and then I could go in guns blazing because who cares at that point? I always know when we get together, I know intrinsically and I have to know because I get worried and then I go, oh wait, but when we start talking, it's all fine. I always have that feeling. And now I know it logically so that even if I feel a little like, oh, I don't know, my asshole's tight right now. I can't do this. And I always have like, and I've said this before and I don't know if it ends up in an episode usually, but I always have a bit of stage fright, especially after so long not really recording an episode. I do get like the tightness in my chest and the butterflies in my stomach, but I know at least after doing this for so long, intrinsically, once we start talking, it's not nearly as bad as what I think it's going to be.
You also know that Sharon D and I are not hateful just for the sake
No.
of being hateful. If we dislike something, it's for valid reasons. I don't feel like our reasons are petty.
I'm just mad that Madison's back, so I'm going to shit all over everything. It's not like that at all.
Right, it wasn't.
No.
It wasn't.
I'm mad for
no.
very specific reasons.
Yes.
But I even think that a
Yes.
lot of those reasons are exacerbated by a whole fuck ton of other reasons too.
I would agree.
I think that's worth pointing out to actually kind of embolden your criticisms, but also temper them. How can we squash your feelings? I've said this many, many times. Your feelings aren't wrong. When you watch it and you feel about it a certain way, your feelings aren't wrong. We also have to keep in mind a lot of the shows we watch all at once these days. We're not usually waiting week to week for an episode of anything except for these shows, with few exceptions at this point. We've had whole episodes discussing that very point, the binge watch versus the week to week watch. It's changing the way we think of shows. It's changing the way we watch television. It's changing the way we grade television or react to television. So we're like almost anachronisms right now, but we are on that cutting edge of living between both worlds.
Are we to the birds?
Anyways, yeah,
let's go to the birds.
So because we just talked about Dove, and I didn't know that her name was Dove.
Is Ren's friend. So Ren, I didn't know this, but I found out in some Native American cultures, wrens have mythological importance. They're meek characters that have more power than appears at first glance, which that seemed to be kind of telling for Ren's character. Among the Pueblo tribes, however, wrens are considered birds of war. Catching sight of a wren is believed to boost a person's courage, especially a warrior.
Like a rite of
passage.
passage.
I thought that was really interesting.
That's cool.
In some other Pueblo tribes, rock wrens are associated with madness and dangerous magic, and the people used to avoid touching one at any cost, as it was like part of a superstition to them.
Because they were too chaotic, too strong?
Yeah. Mo is Ren. Dove is, we don't know her real name. Other kid. Madison is Lark.
Lark and Nightingale. Both of the same family, I think, if not mistaken.
Larks are symbolic of, this is funny, joy, hope, and laughter. Not at all like Madison. That's like not her character.
Definitely not joy, but I do sense that you should be with your family. That's the kind of angle they're going to play her at. Especially, okay, so it seems like they're doing the thing where, and we've seen this before, especially on The Walking Dead World Beyond. We said this not only in the trailer reaction, but during our watch or during our discussion of The Walking Dead World Beyond. The beauty of having been behind walls, these kids, is that they've gotten knowledge of the outside world without being in the outside world, making them into monsters, killing monsters. So they have the benefit of having been protected all this time. So they can maintain their humanity. Madison, having not been out there for so long and is like a time capsule of when before she left, gives her the benefit of saying, hey, you were supposed to be her father. I did this so that you could be with her. And that's all she's left with for 7 years. So she has that still with her. And so she's going into this whole thing with that motivation still and being pent up for so many years and having found out that she's not with Morgan. That's basically her impetus. And after spending so much time snatching other babies because of what Padre made her do, when all she wanted to probably be is with her babies. After sacrificing her life, which we'll find out more about, you don't want to be with your kid? What the fuck? I stayed away from my kids because I wanted them to live, but there's not 1 second I wanted to be with my kids.
Oh yeah, they had like a really weird codependent relationship. She definitely wanted to be with her kids.
To give her credit for like the first 3 seasons, it didn't appear that way, but you knew in the back of her mind that she didn't want Nick to go off on his own because that would have been dangerous for him on a mental level, right? To get addicted to the
As
dad.
someone who grew up with a single mother, it's very indicative of a single mother's relationship with her children. The oldest often gets the brunt of her responsibility. I've written like a thesis paper on this. There's a lot of psychological stuff that happens when a father figure leaves the family, right? Or the other half of the parental unit leaves. And some of that stuff that ends up happening is the oldest becomes responsible for some of the psychological damage that's happening to that parent that's left behind. It's only
or bears the brunt
it's when it's like really traumatic is when it's really bad. It's not like every family, because a lot of families can function fine and dual parent. I'm specifically thinking of my situation. My dad left. He was abusive, not an ideal situation to be in. My mom was left really broken as a person after that. And so I had to deal with a lot of the like, here's what's happening to us financially. And I'm like 10. I'm like not capable of handling that psychologically. I'm not okay to know that we might have to file for bankruptcy. We don't have any money. We're going to lose our house. The power's getting turned off today. So hide when the people come to knock on the door. Like that's like, those are not okay things to happen to a kid. And my husband has been through a lot of the same, but it was also a very traumatic situation.
Same here.
While that sounds like that's all really horrible, there is this strengthening depth of love that comes from that. My relationship with my mother, while it has had its moments and I have had to see counselors about some of the codependency stuff that happens between us, we are so close because of it. I love her so deeply, even though she was not a perfect parent, because who can be? But I love her so deeply because that relationship was so strengthened through all of that trauma. So you bond with your parent. My husband is very close to his mother as a result. Charity, I know you're close to your mother as a result. And so while it seems like a negative when you're talking about it, it's not really, because that single parent does everything within the realm of possibility to be able to keep their child safe. Psychologically, it's not always the best route, but there's a real serious
This is
bond.
the other end of the sword, right?
There's a real serious bond that comes around. And so you see that. It's exemplified perfectly in Madison's, at moments, overbearing nature with her children. It's that relationship.
But then she'll let them go.
It's that relationship.
So that's kind of what I was exploring. Yeah. She lets Nick go because, and probably mostly because she's used to that playbook. If I hold him closer, he's just going to go away faster. When she finally lets Alicia go in the 3rd season, there's a little bit of that too. Like, well, I spent so much time keeping you close because I needed you, but I'm not going to do that playbook again.
The same thing happened with me and my brother. I left.
But that was hard for her.
I dipped. It was hard for me. It was hard on both of us. And when my brother left, it was the same thing. My mom had like a really hard time with that. And of course, everybody has a hard time with their kids leaving the house. But when you don't have a person in the house still, it makes it that much harder, I think. You're truly empty nesting.
To go on that point, and I'm going to bring it right back to where we are now. Having had done that in an apocalypse where you were doing crazy things to keep your family together, like put a psychopath on a leash, talking about Troy. It's like the fallacy of sunk costs too. You put so much into keeping everybody safe that why would you let them go? And then she does, though, which is why I think it's like this indomitable spirit sort of thing. Like, I have to let her go to have her find her own. She's an adult in this world. And so I don't want to lose her too. So much pressure has been put on her. Going back to where she's at with Morgan now, it's like, I was ready to die to give you what you needed to get Mo out of here. And you're not fighting to keep her. That's where she's at now. And I kind of like it in the sense that it's kind of a refined version of her from the first 3 seasons, what she was trying to do in season 4, which we didn't all buy into at first, but you kind of get it. You let it sink in after so many seasons, what she was trying to do for her kids, and then letting them go in the end saying, yeah, you're ready for this world. You guys complement each other, etc. And then Nick dies.
I'm going to go back to the birds.
Clark. Get it? Clark.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I didn't even catch that.
I didn't catch that, honestly.
I didn't catch that. We're so dumb.
I thought the captions messed up the first time I heard it.
There is a crescent present on their breast, which also connects them to the moon and hence femininity, which makes sense in this situation. Anyway, they are often considered muses for musicians, artists, poets, etc.
The inspiration.
The inspiration,
okay.
Yeah. Inspiring you to become a family
so she
again.
may die.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
We can only hope.
Nightingale.
That's our only purpose.
We're going to move on to nightingales. Am I dumb? Grace wasn't given a code name, or we just don't know it yet?
Heron.
We haven't heard.
Heron.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
Okay, I didn't look that one up.
I didn't hear Dove. You
I
guys
didn't look
hear
that
Heron.
one up so quick. Somebody look it up. We're going to talk about nightingales. Nightingales are known for the beauty of their song, obviously, and they are promoted throughout history by their association with poetry.
I'm sorry.
Sharon's just imagining Morgan singing.
The beauty of this song, I was like, I don't die.
I lose people and I lose myself. And then Mitchell's going to say, oh, that's a terrible impression. You were supposed to. Which, by the way, I never got to finish the lyrics from the Dock of the Bay, but that's fine.
Oh my God. Write that song, Dave.
What?
Write this song.
I lose my clear. It's a one-word song.
Clips of Morgan and
I could see clearly now. The rain is gone.
I can see clearly now. Oh, what? Is he spooging right now?
Okay. Anyway. So most commonly, the nightingale is understood to be a sign of coming spring. You could argue that means the tide of change, like new beginnings, renewal. Yeah, like a renaissance, that whole thing.
Is this his 18th
He's a different somebody
Now he's somebody else.
Okay, and then I wanted to talk very briefly
like
about
now.
One of the reasons I initially loved Fear is one, the first episode is great, but I loved that it exposed us to more of the regional differences in names for walkers.
Yeah. Carrion.
It's such a cool aspect to me. Of course, different areas like dialects would have different names for walkers. I just love that. And Carrion was such an interesting name to me.
It's perfect.
It is.
Absolutely perfect.
Which also has it's a connection
It
with
does.
birds as
Okay,
well.
so
Right.
Mitchell kind of pointed out when we were watching it together, vultures,
Crows.
crows.
They're nocturnals too.
any bird
Nocturnal.
of
Carrion
like, yeah.
birds.
So
Prey.
yeah,
Raven.
so carrion, it's essentially dead carcasses of animals that scavengers feast off of. So that's interesting because they've gone with this whole bird theme and they're walking rotting flesh. I don't know. I just thought it was a really cool, interesting thing to do. I thought it was a cool name.
A tag on the existing
I liked it.
definitions that we've been rattling off.
I like this consistent string of the bird
The
theme.
bird theme.
I like this. But is it going to amount to anything,
don't know.
or is it just cool?
I
It
don't know.
might.
We'll have to just wait
I
and
don't
see.
know. They may be going
I
somewhere.
hope that it does.
Give Fear one thing is that when they bring these things up, these kind of references, like the 39 Nistarim. Remember when Ner Tamid, they were bringing up the people that are supposed to redeem the world? Well, they were in a caravan, all these people trying to heal the world, trying to heal themselves. There was a loose theme, and it doesn't have to stick to it completely, but maybe there's something to it.
I hope that we find out later that maybe Padre was a bird watcher or something. I don't
maybe. Oh, that makes him a little bit more creepy, though.
Something creepy about that.
I mean, instead of birds, it's little kids.
She was an ornithologist in the same place where King Ezekiel was the tiger keeper.
Oh, wouldn't that be cool?
Wait, guys, we're missing the obvious. What if that island is like a bird sanctuary? That makes sense.
That does
People
make
go
sense.
to islands to see the migrating patterns. And
Yeah.
Like Padre Island.
Mitchell has joined us, and he says it's so weird how people at Padre have bird names, which we just covered. Carrion, of course, means decaying flesh of animals. He also says, do you think Padre is Troy? That's what I've heard people say. Because, as we all know, if you don't see a body, they could still be alive.
Oh, there's more to that.
Why not?
Yeah.
But I'm very interested in this very last thing Mitchell has to say. Mitchell says it. Plus, it's weird that even the kids haven't even met Padre. I would argue, I think they have met Padre. They just don't know who it is.
I'm going to say maybe at least the Jayla Walton character. I think that's her name, right? Jayla Walton, the influencer person.
Dove. Just
Dove.
call her Dove. Because this is
Sorry.
confusing.
We
to
can
me.
call her Dove now. Sorry.
I think everyone has met Padre, but only a select few actually know who that is.
Maybe the ones who
Do
graduate
we know
too, by the way.
Haircut's name?
Maybe.
No, I didn't catch her
I'm
name.
just going to call her
And
Haircut.
I don't
then.
even know the actress's name, man. I was looking for her frantically after our Fear the Walking Dead trailer breakdown, the season 8 trailer breakdown. So Grace's name on the show is Heron, and Heron meaning and symbolisms include elegance, patience, wisdom, messages, self-possession. So she owns herself and owns her decisions. I mean, she had to, right? Giving up Mo, which is something I was worried about. But she does come in for the clinch, but she agrees with Morgan about giving her back up to Padre. Anyway, transformation. I am eager to see that. And good fortune. But that means for people, not for the birds themselves. But anyway.
Well, I mean, she's not an albatross, so like I think we're okay.
Which is the most
That's what I'm worried about meeting.
Which is actually kind of, I feel like that's what the symbol of Padre is too, which is like this burden, maybe.
If we had bird nicknames, what would they be? I already have one.
Go for it.
My nickname as a child growing up, my whole life was Dodo.
Oh, the dodo bird.
Oh. I mean, it's like, oh, but it's also, oh. Makes sense.
When my husband and I talk about my nose, I refer to it as my beak, but I'm going to ask him what kind of bird he thinks I would be. Hold on.
Cockatiel.
My grandma had cockatiels over the course of my whole life. She probably had 5 or 6. She had 2 parrots. My grandma was a big bird lady.
So Mitchell is saying that the haircut serum haircut is named Shrike.
Shrike.
In Picard season 3, there is a group called the Shrike as well.
Shrike or Snipe? I've gone snipe hunting.
Oh no, you haven't.
Shrike. Shrike is a specific kind of bird, and it's a terrifying bird.
I've absolutely gone snipe hunting.
But yeah, in Picard season 3, there's a group called the Shrike, and their ship is terrifyingly huge and menacing. So if that's what she's representing.
Shrikes are also called butcher birds.
Ooh.
Yeah. A totem animal that can help us overcome our fears and see the world in a new light. It's interesting.
That's ominous.
In their light.
Well, what did your husband say you resemble
so
as a bird?
his exact words were, what? I said, what kind of bird would I be? And he goes, what the hell are you doing?
As long as it's not a swallow.
I said, I just asked him again. I didn't say anything else. I just asked him again. And then he goes, I don't know, a shit hawk? And then continued playing his video game. So
So that
A woodpecker.
Yeah, because of my beak.
so that makes me think that I'm a chicken hawk.
No, David, you are an owl.
Stop.
Yeah, because you creep me out when you turn your head all the way around. And also you're always like, hoo-hoo,
Still like it.
hoo-hoo, you guys are wrong. Hoo-hoo. Like, that's...
Hey.
So David is a snow owl.
Who?
And
What?
Sharondy's a barn owl.
Barn owl.
Why not?
Well, they more
Okay.
screech. I don't.
I'd rather-
Does she
Do they?
screech?
I'd rather be an albatross and just be a fucking burden on everybody.
No, I don't like it. Mitchell says the next episode is titled Blue Jay. So diving deeper into the birds, I mean Padre. I think anyway.
Do you think this is all just a big Hitchcockian thing with with the birds?
Well, with the introduction of Madison in this episode, they were obviously trying to go for like the jump scare with the lights turning on and the dramatic sound effect of them as she was walking through the hallway, which like, okay, no, those are fluorescent lights. They don't make that sound. Like, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. Like, no, it's a floor. It's fine. Stop it. But you know why they're doing it. They're building up to this
giant levers. Like,
right.
oh, hi.
Anyway, there's some interesting things to look out for, and that is like the bullet making that's happening. And I am going to get to Troy in just a second. It's telling to see where they're trying to take this community, what they're trying to build up to, and how hardcore they're going after it, which gives you the presence to figure out that these guys are not to be messed with. And with regards to all of our characters, and yes, I do miss them, it just makes me feel very, very depressed about people's fate and how they're going to lay it out to where we actually talk about what happened to them, like Charlie, like some of our other characters that weren't mentioned. I want to read what Mitchell says just for a second, and then we'll talk about the Troy thing. So he says, as much as I like Morgan and Madison, I hope we get more of the episodes with the other, not just them. I don't know if you've talked about this, but Mo and Alexa, Mo and Alexa weren't credited for the episode, which makes me feel like they died off camera, which is really stupid. I agree. Because at the end of the day, we love these people. I love Alexa and I love Mo. And it's hard to wrestle with the fact that we may have to plow on with this story without them. Bridget, talk about your positives.
One, it's green. Y'all, it's green. It's green. It's just, yes. Yeah.
And not poison the door green.
It's finally a different color.
Green.
It's finally a different color, and I'm so thankful. Praise God. I couldn't take it anymore. I enjoyed the bird theme. It's a little hokey. It's a little cheesy. But after calling babies eggs, we might as well just lean into it. So I'm fine with it. Was Madison's name Lark at the end of last season, or was she Nightingale?
Lark.
It was Lark.
Okay.
Also,
all right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to double check. That had nothing to do with my positives. The opening sequence, just thank God. Okay. Because if it wasn't, then it was, it was like that super loud music, which like, it was.
Right.
Like,
She's talking about the title sequence. Yeah.
Both have been so incredibly annoying to me for so long that I was like, finally, something that's not blowing out my ears.
But did you like the continuation of the illustration?
Yeah, I like that. I like that part.
Themes?
But
I
just
did
like,
too.
thank you for dialing it back.
Yeah, and like the hokey, hopey kind of country music. No, we kind of kept it real, and it's going to be a little dark this season. So
I kind of wanted something different. I liked the opening title things last year with the characters that we were going to see, but I don't know.
Different than the visuals, right?
I kind of wanted to see something different for this season.
I wouldn't have been mad about it, but
see, now that
me too.
is me being petty.
Well, on that note, I just want to read what Mitchell just wrote. I did like this episode more than all of season 7. Yes, no more of the ugly yellow filter! Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. The new music for the intro is nice, though I miss season 1 through 3 music. It gave the horror feel.
It was fine. It was fine, Mitchell, except for the giant sting at the end. Because nothing is more startling than laying in bed trying to go to sleep, just cozied up, trying to listen to a zombie TV show, as one does, for good nighttime feels, and just all of a sudden hearing like it's horrible.
Yeah, I know some people will disagree with me on this one too. I just could not wait for them to let go of that stupid song made by 9 Inch Nails. It was one sound effect that, by the way, I just recently read they had to get rid of because of copyright purposes. So for some of the episodes in season 3, I think it was, they actually played a softer intro music along with the visuals. So because of that, because there was threats of suing. So,
Interesting.
Anyway,
so those are my positives for this episode.
Okay, so now we have to talk about the Troy. The Troy in the room.
Ugh.
So
I just want to make one quick comment. It says a lot about what's going on with the show that Bridget's positives were the color palette and the intro music.
Like we're clamoring for the good news.
I didn't hate this episode. I didn't hate this episode. I really didn't. I really didn't. I didn't either. I want to just come out and say I did not hate this episode. It's a kid actor, so like half of the audience is like, she's horrible. And then the other half is like, she's okay. Yeah. Like she did a great job. She's a kid and she's young in her career. And I think she did fine.
I agree. She is a kid. Yeah. She's doing well for her age, whatever the fuck that happens to be. I don't know,
she's
8,
young.
13,
she is
24,
young.
Whatever. However,
42.
One of the people she was acting with is not a child, and her acting is terrible. Come at me. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, but she's not like a central character. I'm not bothered by it.
She's like watching a fucking block of wood on the screen.
You're saying Dove, the actor who
plays
Dove.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Oh, are we
We're
talking
not
about the
talking about the young actors.
I got you. Okay. Sorry. Got it. I thought you meant Dove, but you mean Lark.
She does. She means Madison.
Anyway.
In case nobody got the very obvious comment.
Actually, I mean Kim Dickens, because Madison is a real person.
That's true.
But Kim Dickens is not.
Let's just say
actress.
Madison for now. Yeah. And we've mentioned this before too.
She's like a rock.
I concur.
I'm hopeful for this season.
Right, you're looking for the positives, essentially.
I'm hopeful. But you guys know me. That's how I am. Like, I get really hopeful for things. And you know what? I predicted Daryl Dixon was going to die, and he didn't. And so, who knows?
This season's going to be better because it really don't think it could go worse. So
season 7B was so bad.
No,
it
could definitely get worse. It could definitely
get worse.
I have June and Sherry to look forward to, because I know they are going to show up at some point.
I mean, even the best actors can't carry a terrible story, though.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. I like what they laid out for the rest of the season. This is what we have to deal with.
What they have set the stage with right now, at best, I can say is interesting. I'm going into this, I don't have the words, but I'm like, ooh, I have sound effects.
Right.
Ooh. That would be trepidation.
It's everything that we've all said before. Yeah, it's coming in and getting an anthology style episode. It's being traumatized. It's the pressure. It's the end of Fear the Walking Dead. So there's a lot riding on this.
The things we know.
Well, Mitchell says promo pics from episode 2 shows that June will be the center of the episode. So there's something there for those who want to know. Okay, so we have to talk about the Troy in the room, and that is, we have mentioned this before, and it was that casting calls have been made for a Troy lookalike, but some people have said that they have seen Troy on, or they had heard that Troy was going to be on set, whether it's on site, whether it's in a studio, in a soundstage, whether it's they may have some scenes with him in it, but there is a Troy lookalike. Now it appears that people are singling out one of the characters who takes in the initial walker that Ren is supposed to take down in the first scene, and he's also a teacher in 2 specific scenes, trying to teach some of the students, the children, about military formations. This is whom they are referring to, is the Troy character.
If Troy was at Padre and he knew Madison was there, I've never even watched their episodes, but something tells me she would not just be left down there in the fucking cell without him fucking with her.
So you kind of answered the question that I actually had of why Madison is even alive to begin with. Why don't you get rid of her? What's with the blood?
What's with the blood?
For everybody, not just Madison. It's also the kids too. Whether it's for antibiotics or just general health or whatever it is.
But
what is
weekly?
With that?
That's like, no, it's too much.
But more than anything else, even after they said Lark is a liability, they took her back because they are fucking with her. And if Troy is on the show, and this is before I want to say the other thing that I want to say, what I really feel, that would be a good reason to keep Madison around, because Troy is fucking with her.
But wouldn't he want her to know it was him?
Oh, not until the last minute.
No, he's much more sadistic than that.
I'm going to be really, really disappointed if Troy is Padre.
It would make sense, and it would make sense that he would do it that way, because that is what Madison did to him. Madison strung him along this whole time, thinking that, oh, you're my friend, and then she ends up killing him in the end.
No.
After he professes what his intentions are.
No, you know who Padre is.
By the way, I'm not saying that Padre is Troy at all.
I'm saying Padre could be Tobias.
Yes. Yes.
Good night,
Oh my
everybody.
God.
Good
Yes.
night.
Please.
I'm done.
Yes.
And you know what? If it ends up being
that
shoot,
would
and
be
you know what?
amazing.
No, it wouldn't.
I would jump out of my seat and scream.
I jokingly said
That would be
if
amazing.
Tobias was a big bad, similar to the comic book governor, I'd be like, okay, I'm listening. But I was joking, okay? I was joking.
No one can be like comic book governor. No.
Yeah,
No.
specifically comic book governor. Where they
he was the worst.
Yeah, Tobias is the worst.
Did you read the comics?
I've seen enough to know that he's awful, like beyond awful.
Awful
evil.
doesn't even.
Yeah, awful doesn't begin to describe it.
So there you go, Tobias. You got what you wanted. That would be more disappointing to me.
That would be us. No, I would be so excited.
But it's okay. You're entitled to your opinion.
If Padre is not a lady, I want it to be Tobias.
You know who it's going to be? It's going to be Travis.
Travis is Padre.
Chris is Padre. He's not actually
the Padre.
We didn't.
Chris definitely.
Madison is like the dinosaur, not the mama. Grayson Morgan, not
Chris
the mama.
would torture Madison.
We're doing exactly what we did when Madison left the show. Now we're doing. Or maybe this is. Or maybe we'll do. Fine, we'll do it. But not Tobias. The reason
it can't be Travis, though, is what reason would he have to torture Madison? What reason would Travis have to torture Madison?
I mean, does it have to be a reason?
Yeah, no. Based on this writing, no.
I'm being absolutely serious.
Maybe he's mad because she didn't.
Based on their relationship.
Come and look for him.
I mean, I agree. I just sometimes people go mad, and look at Morgan right now. He's doing everything that goes against everything he stands for. Hope for the future, children, future, being stable.
But if he believes that Padre is the future, then he believes in what he's doing.
Rick is Padre because he was the dad, right? He was Carl's dad, so
you know who Padre is? It's Ophelia's fiance that she went back for that she didn't get to. That's who it is. I was trying to think of the most random character. It's the bartender for the bar at the weird ballpark stadium thing where it was like a flea market that served Troy and Nick that weird zombie brain.
Psychedelic brains. But why can't it be Taco Walker?
Padre's skid mark is what Mitchell said. I like it.
Anyway. Going back to the Troy thing, is it him? I don't think so. I don't care even. By the way, I don't care. It's similar to the whole Madison returning thing.
Wait.
By all means,
what don't you care about?
Bring back
you
some fucking person
that person that they're pointing out as being Troy. I don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't care.
It's fine.
I don't care.
Just bring back everybody.
You care who Padre is,
right?
You
know what? This is literally The Walking Dead because everybody's died and they just come back. So apparently, do you know what? That's what The Walking Dead is.
Padre is the kid.
Like I said.
It's Annie.
Oh, and they're all in a trench coat.
And they're on top of each other.
It's Annie.
Patrick.
It could be Max
Annie,
or
Dylan.
It's all of them.
Annie, Dylan.
Fuck Tobias. I'm okay with this.
Do we have an R?
Because they were asked to be child slave labor on a plane. They were asked to build a plane, even though they're children.
You're horrible.
And so this is their payback.
You're horrible.
Upon intake, they all have to read The Little Prince.
The beer balloon is Padre.
A sentient beer balloon?
Beer balloon. It's a beer balloon. Like a beer balloon shows up with a mustache and it like rips it off and it's like, ha ha ha. It was me all along.
It was me the whole time. Rachel, you said, but do you care who Padre is? And the truth is, make me care, show. Make me care.
Yeah.
That's really the thing. Show, don't tell. That's the first rule. Them explaining exactly what happened to, not exactly, but like mostly what happened to Morgan over the years. And they could have showed that rather than told that. Unless, and this is too a positive for you gals, get it out of the way so we can actually get into the story with everybody else, which I'm okay with. Okay, say everything at once, establish where this season is going to go, this final season, say it now, and then show me everything after that. Show me what happens as a result of that. That's fine. Make me care about who Padre is.
Madison is probably going to tell June how she got out of the diamond.
There is a shot of them sitting together somewhere.
We're going to find out because she's going to share her story with somebody. And why not June?
June was there.
They have a very, Ooh, history. They have that history.
They blame June for Madison getting killed. No, I mean Alicia.
Madison would know it's not her fault.
Yeah, but Alicia is just out for blood.
They blame June for Madison's death when that, of course, wasn't the case.
We got what this season's about. We got what we were in for. And I cannot wait to see the characters that we do have left. Well, even Victor.
I'm excited for
Victor. Who
Victor.
knows what he's going to be. At the end of the last season, who knows what he can be now? Look, season 7 was Fear the Walking Dead pulling a kind of like a Borg situation with Star Trek. You threw like an impossible situation at the writers to motivate them to hopefully write something good. And look, it was a gamble. And honestly, you're right. It didn't quite pay off. The arc didn't pay off. We got some really, really good episodes out of it. As we do with every season of Fear the Walking Dead, we get really, really good episodes that we muse on. Some of the episodes we're like, oh, wait, that episode wasn't so bad. But like the arcs themselves, not that great. But I am looking forward to seeing what they can do with the people that they have left. And if they can pull off a really decent story, I'm not going to say boo. I like this episode. It was decent. It gives me hope for what's to come, especially if there's a reckoning with Madison in June and whatever else is left. I'm looking forward to it. The question that you may ask is, do we have a choice? We're going to get what we're going to get.
No, we do it for the people.
Yeah. And we're going to always try to show what is redeemable about these episodes, as well as some of the behind the scenes stuff. Actually, I could end off with something. I was getting into sitting at the dock of the bay, and there's some key lyrics, wasting time, quote unquote. Left my home in Georgia, nothing to live for, nothing's going to change. 2,000 miles I roam just to make this dock my home. Thought that played in better than In Dreams would have played out for this episode, as well as some foreshadowing. What I have been doing, what I did, and what I may do. Because we all know front-loadedly that Morgan is, whether it's a hallucination, but it sounds like he's going back to King County, Georgia, / maybe even Alexandria. Who knows? Well, if you like what you heard, head over to ratethispodcast.com/squawking dead. 5 stars and eggplants, all we need to know that you love us, but tell us what you liked. Tell us what we didn't like. Tell us what was hilarious. Remember to tell us after every episode, though. And if you really like what we're doing, if you really want to see these unedited episode recordings, which you probably will want to by the time this is all over.
Want to.
You do. You definitely want to. Head on over to either ko-fi.com/squawkingdead or patreon.com/squawkingdead and tip us on Ko-fi for 30 days of supported back content. Or you can join a membership tier for as little as $1 a month. And you'll get Discord access, the unedited episode recordings, and a whole host of other perks right off the bat. And if you join the Whispers and Survivors tier members, you will get credits at the end of the episode, as well as some really, really cool things. As well as if you join the Survivor tier, you can join us on screen and tell us how wrong I am. Probably, mostly. It's going to be me. Maybe a little bit Bridget. Or maybe you think...
Why me?
I'm sure a lot of people are going to not like what I had to say, and that's just fine. Come at me. Y'all have already bullied the shit out of me anyway. Go ahead.
It's an opinion. You can't tell me my opinion's wrong.
There's not going to be one person on this podcast that somebody's not going to have anything bad to say about. But here's the thing. The good thing is that we all don't have to agree on something to discuss it. And I think that's the beauty of the show. Because if we all agree, what's the fucking point? We all come from somewhere. We all bring in a certain experience to this show. I happen to like Madison as a character. You guys don't. But that's good, because then we could come together and actually really discuss certain situations and certain actions that happen throughout these episodes and arcs that might resonate with someone, rather than just the one echo chamber over and over again that's going to like it. Like, I want people to get something out of each and every one of you. So if you like that, just follow us for free on either Ko-fi or Patreon, and you'll get the inside track on when we record, which is free to join. It's free to follow to get our recording schedules. And in any case, I've been your host, David Cameo, and I was joined by Cosmom09 Rachel Burt, Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner, and Bridget, ko-fi.com/Punky Brewster. That's PUNKYBRUISETER. Mitchell in the audience, Aiden in the audience. Take care, guys. We'll see you in the next one, and hopefully we'll have a lot more to say about that one, even though I wrote so many notes on this one. Take care. Sitting at the dock of the bay, clearing the walkers along the way. I mean, carrying. Anyway, bye everybody. We'll see you next time. Goo.